That was an echo. That was Timo Tolkki's Avalon. Timo Tolkki used to be the head honcho of Stradivarius. The song was Now and Forever off of Return to Eden. Twilight Force before that, with Long Live the King off of their third disc, Dawn of the Dragon Star. Terra Maze with From Savior to Assassin from Are We Soldiers. And Visions of Atlantis with At the End of the World off of Wanderers. All four of those songs are pretty new. Terra Maze is the oldest, but we're talking several months, not like years or anything like that. So Timo Tolkki's Avalon probably about 3 months ago came out. Twilight Force and Visions of Atlantis are both the newest of that batch. Well, it is about time for me to wrap up the mostly metal portion of the evening. As you might know if you heard this before, the show is a 2-hour block, Sunday nights 8 to 10, and I like to juggle back and forth between two of the things I think about the most, heavy metal and wrestling. And in some weeks, it's all heavy metal. In some weeks, it's about a 50-50 split, and in some weeks, a little bit more than 50% on the metal side. But the wrestling broadcast that I do here is very often going out to shows with a mixing board and microphones and recording a lot of audio from the show and then compressing it down to a digestible time frame rather than, like the 2.5 hours you would sit there in the crowd. And so Friday night, ACME Championship Wrestling had an event called Fall Brawl at Lincoln Elementary School in Roselawn, and I was there with my stuff and set it up and got you the show. And so, well, first of all, I guess I should play the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program intro music to make this official.
Your insubordination will not be tolerated.
Okay, we are now officially in the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program here on WVLP 103.1 FM in Valparaiso, Indiana, or WVLP.org, or the TuneIn Radio app, or attaching lots of wires to any braces you're wearing on your teeth and seeing if you can pull in the signal that way. Whatever it takes. So I'm Ken the Metal Professor, and I like wrestling. And so I take advantage of the fact that I have this broadcast time to bring wrestling to you in the case that you might like it as well. Maybe there are shows around here you don't know about or don't go to see, or you were at and you want to listen to some of the sounds again. Every month, a couple of times, I get out to shows and record the noise and give some descriptions of what's going on, and then bring it back here, edit it out, and play it for you. So here we go with this week's entry from ACME Championship Wrestling's event this past Friday night. You'll hear more details once the recording starts. Next week, it's not going to be delayed audio coverage of a show. There's going to be people in the studio talking about an upcoming show. So as far as I know, plans are to have Pinnacle FC, Drex Odell and TK0 in the studio, as well as High Society, the tag team of Thomas the Benjamin Keith and Young Money. It will be interesting with both of them in the studio at the same time. I might need a referee. They're going to be talking about a tag team tournament show coming up on October 12th. New Generation Wrestling will be having Quest for the Cup, and that will be taking place down in Crawfordsville. You'll hear a lot more details next week about this. But today, delayed audio coverage of ACME Championship Wrestling, starting right now. It is just a hair before 7 o'clock. I'm Ken the Metal Professor, and I am sitting in the gymnasium of the Lincoln Elementary School in DeMotte, Indiana, for ACME Championship Wrestling's event, Fall Brawl, which is about to get started in just a couple of minutes. It was a touch-and-go situation whether I'd be able to set up, because in this huge gymnasium, the electric outlets are under brass plates, which are set into the gym floor. And apparently they finished the gym floors. They waxed them over the summer, and nobody has needed to pop them open since then. And so you had like 3 people going at these brass plates with a Swiss Army knife and scissors and a screwdriver, and finally one of them popped open thanks to the awesome security guy here at ACME Championship Wrestling. So Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program is set up and ready to go. Some of the matches on the card tonight are going to be Rick Raid versus Billy the Kid for the ACME Toughman Championship. Excalibur versus Brentley Alexander Dawson for the, I believe, the Intercontinental Championship. TK0 versus El Muchacho. That's probably going to have the best split in the crowd in terms of everybody being in favor of one person and absolutely hating the other. I won't tell you who is who just yet. Crimson Dynamo has offered an open challenge for the heavyweight championship that he won from Dave Allen at the last event. The difference in the crowd between this show and the last ACME show I was at is quite remarkable. The last one was at the Rust Belt Rebellion, which is an auto show in Shelby, Indiana. The crowd at that one leaned older because it was an auto show. So imagine a Saturday afternoon after a day in the hot sun with a bunch of people looking at cars and drinking lots of beer, apparently, versus today where probably at least 60% of the crowd is elementary school kids running around and screaming. So it'll be quite a difference. But I will pipe back in when the action starts, and you can hear how it all goes down here on the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program.
Are you ready? I can't hear you. Are you?
Good evening, wrestling fans. You are here at ACW. We are ready to smash your faces in with some of the greatest pro wrestling this side of anywhere. But before we get started, if everyone could please get on their feet. The gentlemen, can kindly remove your caps as we pay respects to Old Glory with the playing card national anthem. Make sure and hit our memorabilia table over there. The gorgeous Renee Holmes is over there running that. Also, concession stand over by where you came in right at the beginning of your ACW evening. We are about to get started with our very first match, but before we do, I want to let you know, find us on Facebook, ACW on Facebook, and if you have ever thought or dreamed of becoming an ACW professional wrestler, like us on Facebook, and we will hook you up with the right people.
All right, I'm out of here. I'm going to go train.
Tonight's opening match. Hailing from St. Joe, Michigan. 220 pounds, give it up. He is TK0.
You may hear a lot of incidental noise during the broadcast. The electric outlet that we were able to get at for me to plug in my mixing board and computer is right next to the bleachers, and it's on the side of the bleachers where all the children are going to be jumping down from like the 2nd or 3rd level and making a loud noise as they hit the ground. Paper Harley is the ref for this match, and I'm pretty sure that he'll like this crowd better than he liked the crowd at the last ACW show. If you want to see the rundown of that last ACW show, head for metalprofessor.com. I did not bring recording equipment because it was an outdoor show, but I did write up a description of what went down. TK0 is coming out. El Muchacho ought to be next. Well, they're not making a lot of noise, but when El Muchacho came out through the curtain, there was a large cluster of small children up there at the rail greeting him as he came out. TK0 is telling them what he thinks about their support of El Muchacho, as he is wont to do. And now they're giving him the business. Ooh, El Muchacho with a cape this time. Red tights, red mask. TK0 with black trunks, singlet, one piece, whatever it's called. Goes from the knees all the way up to the shoulders. Bad guys wear black. There's the ring bell for the first match. And I think TK0 doesn't know it. He's yelling at kids. No, wait for that first inaugural ring noise and then pick up when something good happens. There we go. And the first takedown. El Muchacho with the head scissors on TK0. TK0 rolls out of the ring and goes right to the kids in the front. TK0 showed a little bit of contempt for El Muchacho. He threw him out of the ring through the ropes. El Muchacho immediately jumped back in through the ropes. With TK0 caught him, grabbed him by the neck, threw him out the other side. But then El Muchacho came back in the ring, started taking over, just went to the top of the ropes and tried a knee drop on TK0, and TK moved out of the way. That was the thump you heard. Ooh, there was a jawbreaker. El Muchacho has TK0 a little bit stunned. He went for a super kick, and TK0 has him in what I've learned is called the Dragon Sleeper, and El Muchacho's tapping out. Try to describe the Dragon Sleeper for people that can't actually see it right now. So imagine that TK0 and El Muchacho are just laying on a beach enjoying the sunset. El Muchacho is laying on top of TK0, but they're both facing upwards. And instead of being gentle, TK0 reaches around with his right arm, puts it around the neck of El Muchacho, and wrenches it backwards so that El Muchacho's neck is bent backwards towards the mat and his chest is facing up. And there's also the leg lock around the torso involved, so it looks pretty tough to get out of. And now there's about 24 kids running down the bleachers to the rail to tell TK0 what they think of him. Good job, kids.
Coming to the ring first, at a total combined weight of 502 pounds, they are Richie Rothschild, Johnny Motley, they are known as the Wild Boys.
Before I piped that up, the ring announcer was saying that it's a tag team match, and it's one of the first matches in a tag team tournament for, I think he said, the ACW Tag Team Championships. So Johnny Motley and Richie Rothschild. I don't know that I've seen them team together, but that doesn't mean they never have before, or maybe this is a fresh matchup. Johnny Motley's going around giving fake high fives to little kids, making them mad. And now he hopped the rail and just took a seat in the front row with a couple of people. Maybe Richie Rothschild is on his own. Nope, Motley's going back in. The opponents for Johnny Motley and Richie Rothschild are Jake Roan and Cujo. Now, this is a strange pairing. Jake Roan is a nice, clean-cut gentleman, very polite, well-mannered. Cujo, on the other hand, is sort of a loony. Crazy face paint on, odd mannerisms. But maybe this is the magic combination. Johnny Motley is begging off. He doesn't want to get started with Cujo here. He is pretending like he can't get off his vest. So Cujo is trying to get a chicken chant started. So far, the crowd is, we'll say, sedate. The kids are pretty active. Ah, chant for Cujo. There you go. And now he's spinning in circles and cackling. Yeah, maybe I'll ask Jake Roan later on what led him to make this matchup, if it was his idea. Still no contact. Cujo is checked out. Jake Roan is checked in. I should mention that if you're listening to this and didn't come to the show, but you want to see the matches, ACW, I think, is pretty good about putting their matches up on YouTube. And while I'm over here just jabbering a little bit about what's going on in each match, they have a commentary team that does all the commentary for their matches that are made public. Mr. Banks and Latino Crazy. Although he's not here, so it looks like ring announcer Chris Guzman is sitting in as commentator. So check out that YouTube channel for proper commentary on these matches. So Jake Roan and Richie Rothschild are finally making contact. And Jake is slugging him with elbows. Going up to the top rope. Yay, ring noise. Both teams have a fresh man getting tagged in. Johnny Motley and Richie Rothschild had knocked each other loopy. They both managed to tag out at the same time, and so now it's Jake Roan with Richie Rothschild. Did I just say Johnny Motley and Richie Rothschild? Or did I say Johnny Motley and Cujo both knocked themselves loopy? I've not seen this side of Johnny Motley before. Choking and kicking and things like that. Yelling at kids. I don't know what went bad between him and the ACW audience. Richie Rothschild almost got a pin on Jake Roan. Now he's got Jake's head in a claw. I think more people should use the claw. I miss that. Johnny Motley tagged in. Richie is holding him out head first, and Johnny Motley drops on his head with an elbow from above. And then he celebrates a little bit. And got a 2 count. Jake Rohn was having a bad time of it, so Cujo decided to come in and ease things off of him a bit. The ref didn't like it, and Richie Rothschild and Johnny Motley didn't like it. So they threw him back out of the ring. He wasn't legal anyway, so he shouldn't have been in there. And while he was out there, Jake Rohn was still recovering, got a super kick and got planted into the mat and was counted down for 3. So Johnny Motley and Richie Rothschild will be moving on in this tag team tournament. Ooh, Cujo's going out of the ring and going after them. Right in front of the children.
Ladies and gentlemen, our third matchup of the night. Hailing from the wastelands of Nevada, weighing in at 198.5 pounds, he's known the globe over as the action figure. Give it up for Mr. Rick Raid.
Rick Raid's being introduced for his match with Billy the Kid. This will be a tough man title match. I believe Lincoln Elementary is the location of Rick Raid's now infamous ladder match with Nacho Del Silver, which was Nacho Del Silver's retirement match after he lost to Rick Raid. That was one of the best ACW matches I've seen. I was too slow to catch Billy the Kid's introduction, but it's interesting that both competitors in this match had their weight announced down to the 1/10 of a pound. For those that are interested, Billy the Kid's weight, I don't remember the first 3 digits, but it ends in a .6. And while Billy the Kid is trying to have a nice entry into the ring area, chatting with the kids, Rick Raid hops out of the ring, runs around, and starts beating on him, which is perfectly legal in this tough man title match. It's pretty much anything goes, but I believe pinfalls have to take place in the ring. Ooh. It'll be fun to see later if that thump came through on the microphones. That was Billy the Kid slamming Rick Raid on the gym floor. The gym floor is covered with a blue tarp. That's it. No padding. And then Billy the Kid just tossed Rick Raid into the ring. So maybe I'll be able to see what happens next, because everything else was going on the far side of the ring from me. So far, this has been, I don't know, I shouldn't call it the most violent match, most intense match. Certainly the most out of the ordinary match, although Cujo is quite out of the ordinary. A lot of the action's been on the outside of the ring. Rick Raid just suplexed Billy the Kid onto the hard gym floor. Right before that, he gave him a body drop onto the ring apron. Sorry, I said that wrong. Onto the ring apron. It's the hardest part of the ring. You're always supposed to add that part when you say ring apron. And Rick Raid has rolled Billy the Kid back into the ring, trying for a pinfall, but it might be a little too early for that. 2 count. Oh, and that's the third. I believe that is a gut wrench suplex, if I remember my days of watching Bob Caudle and Gordon Soley correctly. Now Rick Raid is going to the top turnbuckle. In the corner far from me. Big frog splash. Now he's laying there in pain, clutching his midsection. Eventually rolled over to try to get a pinfall, but again, took too long.
The winner of this contest, and still the ECW Champion, is the Old
That sort of came out of nowhere. Billy the Kid had the upper hand on Rick Raid and then put him in a double underhook, drop him on his head move, and got the pin. That wraps up the first half of ACME Championship Wrestling's show Fall Brawl from this past Friday night. You're listening to the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action program here on WVLP with delayed audio coverage of that event. And keep it tuned here to 103.1 FM or WVLP.org for the second half of that show coming up right now. The second half is underway. Brentley Alexander Dawson has been introduced. And the crowd, pretty much just the kids in the crowd, made sure to let him know that he was not favored. I think a lot of the adults in the crowd are just here because they brought their kids to be nice. The kids are the ones making all the noise.
And his opponent, hailing from Jamestown, Mississippi, weighed in at 185 pounds. He's known as the X Factor of professional wrestling. Give it up for Excalibur.
And here comes Excalibur. He is the ACME Championship Wrestling Intercontinental Champion. He defeated Jared Kripke at the last event, at which Jared Kripke's leg was torn open by a piece of table. And you can see gruesome photos of that on Facebook if you follow Jared Kripke. And we'll see how long it takes before Brentley Alexander Dawson's golf driver gets involved in this match. Well, the golf club hasn't made an appearance yet, but it didn't take very long for Brentley Alexander Dawson to take a cheap shot. Just a bit ago, he slapped Excalibur in the jaw and then started complaining that his wrist hurt. He was shaking it like it was in pain. He complained to the referee that Excalibur had done something to him. Excalibur decided to take advantage of the wrist injury and had him in a pretty serious-looking wrist lock for a while, but then when they backed into a corner, Brentley Alexander Dawson poked Excalibur in the eye, but Excalibur is back at the wrist lock again. But Brentley gets into the ropes to force a break. BAD had Excalibur in a bear hug, asked the ref to check him, but his arm didn't even drop once before he had a burst of energy and is now taking care of Brentley Alexander Dawson. This has been the most wrestling-y of the wrestling matches so far tonight. It's been about holds and strategies and thinking and not a whole lot of like really, really high intense action. Excalibur has not been upside down yet, but he has lured Brentley Alexander Dawson in to make a move that he was ready for and turn the tables. But a lot of holds and, actual wrestling. And now Dawson has Excalibur tied up in the ropes. The ref forced to break. So it's a lot of wrestling, not clean wrestling necessarily. And there's a kick to the midsection and a knee from Dawson. And now he's got Excalibur in an abdominal stretch. He's using the top rope for that extra leverage. The ref isn't picking up on it just yet. And now he did, so he's going to make him break the hold. Finally, Excalibur got Dawson up and over again, a hip toss. Third hip toss. Now they're both down. Oh man, after all that, Brentley Alexander just shoved the referee for pretty much no reason, and now he's disqualified. Excalibur sneaking up behind him. Oh, and that was nice of Excalibur. Brentley was about to hit the referee. Excalibur grabbed his fist and now throws him out of the ring. And then immediately crumples to the mat.
Hailing from Hollywood, Florida, he is known as the Flawless One. Weighing in at 235 pounds, ladies and gentlemen, he is Jimmy Allen.
And an angry Dave Allen is coming to the ring. He doesn't look so good or happy without that championship belt around his waist anymore. Not that I'm taking any pleasure in that.
He's the former INBA middleweight boxing champion. He's an honorary inductee in the Bare Knuckle Boxing Hall of Champions in Belfast, New York, and he is currently the PE teacher at Lincoln. He's now the regional as the Allen School teacher. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Holmes.
This time, the entire ring, at least on my side, the rail around the ring is surrounded by little kids screaming for their favorite teacher, Jimmy Holmes. Dave Allen blames Jimmy Holmes for the loss of his championship belt. We'll see if he's able to exact any revenge or if Jimmy's boxing background pays off here. Well, if that last match was the wrestlingest of the wrestling matches tonight, this one may be the most punchy. Jimmy Holmes is eager to get his hands on Dave Allen. Dave Allen is not eager to tangle with Jimmy Holmes. As soon as the ring bell hit, he bailed out of the ring, acted like he was going to get back in and jump back down off the apron. Now he's going back up on the apron, and he jumps down again. Dave Allen finally got in the ring. The offense so far has been 12 punches to the gut from Jimmy Holmes to Dave Allen in various corners as they move around. And one chop. Dave Allen's offense has consisted of a low blow, which has brought Jimmy Holmes down to the mat. And while he was down there, Dave Allen stepped on Jimmy Holmes' fingers on his right hand. Dave Allen's strategy seems to be working. He's trying to go after the hands of Jimmy Holmes. He stepped on his fingers earlier, struck them a few times, whacked the turnbuckle with one of them. And it seems to be paying off because Jimmy Holmes tried to hit Dave Allen and immediately recoiled in pain. And now Dave Allen is dropping Jimmy Holmes on his butt. And he's shouting, "Finished." Dave Allen just got Jimmy Holmes, or Mr. Holmes, as the kids are chanting, with his kick to the face, which has put down many people for a 3 count, but Jimmy Holmes kicked out at 2. And now he's trying to make a comeback. He's having to use his elbows and knees instead of his fists, though, because they're still feeling the effect of Dave Allen giving him a workover earlier. Holmes takes Allen down with a forearm. Now a sidewalk slam, but only a 2 count. And now Jimmy Holmes is signaling to the crowd that maybe he's got it in him for one more big punch. Right hand's in a fist. He's winding up. Dave Allen's coming to his feet. And Dave Allen sees what's coming and jumps out of the ring. After Dave Allen bailed out of the ring, Jimmy Holmes went out to chase him, but he kept attacking him around the outside of the ring, and eventually the ref got to 10 and counted both men out. And listen, that was Dave Allen whacking Jimmy Holmes in the back of the head with a chair. So the match is over by countout. The action continues by chair. Here it comes again. Right in the back. The children around the ring are appalled at Dave Allen's behavior. Here we go again. Ref Zorin is out to maybe help Paper Harley calm things down. Oh, Paper Harley got the chair away from Allen. Ref Zorin is seeing to Jimmy Holmes. And Billy the Kid and James Roan are out to chase Dave Allen off for good. And here's the main event. We get to find out who is going to accept Crimson Dynamo's open challenge for his new ACME Heavyweight Championship.
Our final matchup tonight is a bit of a question mark even for me, the ring announcer. I know the champion, but I do not know who he's matched up against this evening. Coming right now, weighing in at 236 pounds, he is the ACME Heavyweight Champion of the World, Crimson Dynamo. In this open challenge heavyweight Heavyweight Championship.
Well, we're all going to find out who the opponent is. It is Drex Odell. Well, Crimson Dynamo, it's been nice knowing you. Crimson Dynamo doesn't seem fazed by this development. It's all in a day's work for the champion, I guess. Drex Odell has a very complicated history with ACW. He's an ex-champion, as ring announcer Chris Guzman said. A nice handshake to start the match off. If you haven't followed ACW for a while but have in the past, you might be surprised that Drex Odell has a nice handshake before the match. When he was champion, he was set upon with many hurdles by the ex-ACW GM Michael Allen, who would bring in opponent after opponent trying to get the belt off of Drex Odell, who at the time he didn't feel was an adequate champion for ACW. Eventually, after all that kerfluffle settled out, Drex Odell sort of calmed himself down and got himself out of that zone that he was in during all of that. Maybe made a little peace with the crowd and the ACME Championship Wrestling universe. He just dared Crimson Dynamo to give him a shoulder block, and Crimson Dynamo took him right off his feet. That was a big slam from Drex Odell on the Crimson Dynamo. So we've had the wrestlingest of wrestling matches to open the second half. Then we had the punchiest of matches in the second, and I believe this is going to be the heavy hittingest of matches tonight. These are two large gentlemen. So right now, this match has become a sequence of trading blows. Not in a strategic way, but just in the sense of the two men standing in the middle of the ring. One of them says, "Hit me," and the other one does, and then they return the favor and repeat. And those are some pretty heavy blows. But after a few, Drex Odell has now hit Crimson Dynamo with a couple of knees. Almost got a 3 count, but not quite. Dynamo's getting to his feet in the corner. Odell misses with a clothesline. Dynamo with a drop kick. And more forearms. And Crimson Dynamo just hit Drex Odell with his big circular dynamo punch. And Drex Odell toppled over like a fallen tree. So Crimson Dynamo remains ACME Championship Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. Maybe Drex Odell needs to get a little of that edge back. Dynamo offers his hand. Drex Odell shakes it, gives him a little hug. And raises his hand. Nice touch. And I think there will be no further shenanigans. That's the end of the show. ACME Championship Wrestling Fall Brawl here at Lincoln Elementary School in DeMotte, Indiana. I'm Ken the Metal Professor reporting reporting. Jabbering for the Northwest Indiana Wrestling Action Program on WVLP 103.1 FM in Valparaiso, Indiana. See you next time.